What? Fuck! Your breath stinks.
Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I'm Mike, he's Jay, and I got these things. You can put them on your arms, and we can play Wonder Woman later.
I'm gonna do it.
I actually found these in my house. Superhero Girl kit. That shit's that's generic as fuck.
Did you get that at the Target in China?
Yes, Dollar Days.
Good day.
It's the best time of the year.
Day.
Wonder Woman, guys. Basically, this movie is just Wonder Woman's origin story. You find her, you see the Amazonians, you see them training, you learn how she becomes who she is. Then all of a sudden, Chris Pine's character shows up, Steve Trevor, and she goes back with him to help him in the war and stop Ares so that mankind can become good again, Steven!
So basically, Donald Trump's platform.
Basically. Huge. Huge.
They built a wall and they stopped all the Germans from coming in.
Finally, no DC hate on this one. Not shocking. I kind of knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, there's some things.
We all sort of said that Wonder Woman will be the movie that does it, and it's like the movie is good. The movie is good, and I like the movie. And the first thing I want to say is that Gadot, however the fuck you say it,
sexy girl.
She's a 10 out of 10 as Wonder Woman. I never ever would have expected her to be so fucking great.
She is badass. Like, there's no doubt that Wonder Woman and her go together like butter and biscuits. And she just completes the circle that we need for the Justice League to be the heroes. Unite the team. And you know what? I think that she's going to be fucking phenomenal. In Justice League, she was phenomenal in this. She basically, you know, I didn't really have any concerns going into watching that Gal Gadot wasn't going to be able to carry her part. I mean, she did really well, because you got to think about, like, the only time you'd ever got to see her was in little snapshots of Batman vs. Superman. So, you know, a whole 2 hour and 24 fucking minute movie. We'll get into that though. But I didn't, you know, some people might have been skeptical, like, well, I don't know, Gal Gadot, you know, is she tested enough to do this? She fucking handles it. She handles it well. I didn't
think she was gonna suck, and I liked her in Batman vs Superman, but it actually, like, under promise, over deliver. As good as she was in this as Wonder Woman, like, she fits it perfectly. She's absolutely goddamn gorgeous, and she's a badass. The fight scenes, it's all believable, and she shot this shit while pregnant. That's impressive. I've only done that once or twice.
Yes, that Israeli training kicked in. That Israeli army thing that she did makes her hotter. It's fuck for some reason. I mean, you're like, you really did that in real life, and now you're a badass, and you're in a Wonder Woman skirt, and I'm thinking about things, and I shouldn't be thinking about things. I got a boner, but it's not just because of you. It is, but this movie's great too. I mean, this movie had so many things in it. You had Gal Gadot, you had Chris Pine, you had a Native American. you had a lot of weird shit thrown in, but it worked. Now, I'm praising and gushing about this movie, and this movie was really, really, really good. I'm not gonna lie, okay? But this movie is very long. It's extremely fucking long. Yeah. And there are parts of it that just feel, to me, doesn't seem like it needs to be included in the movie. It just feels like a bonus, like, Blu-ray extra additional scene that they just kept throwing in. And I know a lot of people say, well, it should have been longer. Origin stories have to be, you know, fleshed out. I don't think they needed to do as much, because sometimes they didn't even complete certain things about characters. Like, the group that gets together towards the middle of the end of the movie is like the most blank slate characters ever. Like, they don't go into any detail about these group that they're running with. I don't know. Again, 2 hour and 24 minute movie is a really long time to sit through a film. And you know what? Terminators don't feel pain. I do. And I mean, I liked it. It was cool, but at the same time, it's like you could have cut out just a swath of
the middle, basically the middle, because it starts out and her origin story is badass, and I love how they did all that. How they shot it all, it looked great. It was amazing. The movie's directed really well. Then they go to London, and like you said, they unite this little crew, and it reminds me. A lot of this movie reminds me, not just because of the World War stuff, but it reminds me of the same problems Captain America: First Avenger had. It felt a lot like Captain America First Avenger through the middle of this movie, because you just go over there and there's a running theme, like, she just wants to get to the war. Like, she's like, why do we have to learn this? There's a whole fish out of water thing. She was sharing
what we felt like that.
Yeah.
Just get to the point.
Yeah, I wanted to get there. Like, the first part was so badass, and I couldn't wait to see her kick more ass, and the whole middle section of the film, you've got to stop and, like, regain, and you got to do the fish out of water thing where she comes accustomed to how humans are and stuff like that. It provided some good humor. Some of it didn't land as much as they wanted it to. But for the most part, the middle did drag on too long. The movie could have lost 20 minutes easy. And just like in the first Avenger, when he has his ragtag group that he goes and gets, like, I just didn't care. Like you said, like, they're empty characters or whatever. But
even well, not the main villain necessarily, but the one villain that's kind of the villain before the main villain, he is, to me, just a hokey-ass villain. Like, I'm sorry, there's nothing about him threatening. Now, not the Doctor, Dr. Poison, I think, or something like that, or she's all right, but the other one that's like controlling her, he's just very, very like, okay, I don't give a shit. Like you die in any James Bond movie in 5 minutes. Like,
yeah,
you're like the hokiest James Bond villain ever. And he even delivers lines. It's almost like Mr. Freeze would do in Batman and Robin. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's got.
I don't know what happened there, but nonetheless, I will say I want to talk about the action sequences really quick.
Badass.
The action sequences were fucking awesome, great. Everything that you'd expect, what the trailers delivered, everything was there. And they didn't like stretch out, like, you know, sometimes the action sequences just go on, and then you just more Michael Bay CG shit coming at you. It just looked really, really good and put together well, and it didn't overstrain itself with those action sequences. And maybe that's what they thought. Maybe they thought, we don't want to make a Wonder Woman movie where it's all about action nonstop, 9.5 on the Richter scale. Maybe we want to kind of flesh out the story. I got it though. I mean, you know, there was at least 35 or 40 minutes you could have cut out of it, and I still would have been like really intrigued about Themyscira and where she comes from and all this stuff and her ideals, and it's being pushed to the limit by seeing the ugly of man. You could have done all that without adding all this extra shit in there. So.
Yeah, and it felt those parts did feel a little bit diluted, and it honestly reminded me of the MCU. Like, I love the MCU, but there's parts of this film that did remind me of First Avenger and other parts of the MCU where it was just kind of, I didn't believe that the soldiers were in a war. They felt a little bit Disney, just a little bit. But the movie still does things that I love about the DC Universe. The fight scenes mainly, as you said, when you see her in action, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a work of fucking art. And something that people won't say is that, like I said, this movie is fantastically directed. Patty Jenkins did a great job. But what people may not say is that this movie is partly successful due to Zack Snyder and all that he put in it. The action scenes felt Snyderish. It's partly his vision, the music. A lot of this is due to what Zack Snyder built. And while all these people are giving DC and Zack Snyder all this hate and loving on Wonder Woman, that's great. I'm glad to see DC get some love, but I hope that they remember that what he built is a huge part of why this movie's good too.
At the end of the day, I'm going to give this movie an 8.0. I don't feel as strongly or as in love with it as maybe a lot of people on Rotten Tomatoes. Fuck Rotten Tomatoes. But, you know, other people, just regular people that love the movie, I'm not that on board with it. I still think it was fucking phenomenal. It was great, and a great introduction to Wonder Woman and bringing her into the DCU. But there were things about it that I just didn't like again, an overinflated plot sometimes, and some of these villains and some of even the heroes that were just thrown in as maybe eye candy or something to give her somebody to fight. I don't know. Like, it just, sometimes it fell flat in those moments, but overall, as far as Gal Gadot's performance in it, always a high, always great when she was on screen. So
yeah, she's a 10 for me. Wonder Woman's a 10. The movie for me is an 8 out of 10. I'm right there with you. I think, like you said, the villains were they did that thing, man, where like every time they're talk, they're like, I have an evil plan.
Yeah, they did.
They're just really one-dimensional villains. And there's a few villains. One of them's pretty cool, but the other ones, like I said, they're really over the top. Like, I have secret layers beneath with people training in them. No,
I haven't find my dildo spike.
But dude, watching her in action, dude, she's so powerful and kick-ass, and she's such a fucking badass. Like, I love watching Wonder Woman in fight scenes and Gal Gadot just be Wonder Woman. So I had a blast with the movie, but like you said, just a little bit too long. As far as the Rotten Tomatoes giving it the highest superhero movie rating ever, it's not the best superhero movie ever.
I mean, I was gonna go with Logan.
It's always way too much. They weigh this much, and I don't blame the people on Rotten Tomatoes. I blame the way that Rotten Tomatoes rates, because like, if you give a movie a positive score, you know, if you can give a movie a 6 and they say it's a negative score, however they do it, I just don't agree with it. But not the best superhero movie of all time, maybe a little bit too much hype, but still a badass fucking movie.
I also want to point out that Chris Pine was really good in it. I mean, he was actually really good. For the part that he played, he had that snarky ass, like, kind of Han Solo smuggler attitude that you would expect, and, you know, the trailer showed you a lot of it anyway, and he kind of had this disbelief that Wonder Woman was there and what was going on, but he played that straight man really well with her, like, overzealousness to be the hope for mankind again. And I thought it was good. I thought he did really phenomenal. But again, it goes back to the fact that the only two really, really fleshed out great characters were Wonder Woman and Chris Pine's character.
And her mom, I thought was great.
She was good, but, you know, I don't want to tell you too much about what goes on there. But again, I just think that, again, it was just a little bit too long, and some of the characters, villains mainly, were just...
I liked your mom.
Your mom was nice. Your mom, she made us cookies and everything.
Yeah, so comment down below, guys. Let us know what your thoughts are. Are you going to see it? Are you psyched for it? Do you think it's being a little bit overinflated but still a great movie like we say? Or do we think we should go fuck ourselves in a dirty basket?
Done that.
I don't want to fuck myself in a dirty basket.
Something new.
We love your fucking faces. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and get some goddamn wham up in you.
We watched a movie. Yeah. You know what? We did a review. We watched a movie.